Thanks for tuning in to Spill It. We love having you here. Our mission is to give you a glimpse into the performer's mindset and uncover what it takes to harness, control, and use our personal skill set to achieve ultimate success. And now, please welcome your host, the nunchuck spinning, roundhouse kicking, backflip flipping, Eccaia Sampson!
Hey guys, it's your girl Eccaia, and you're watching Spill It. Joining us today in the virtual Spill It studio is the incredibly gifted headshot photographer, Youssef Abdelmalek of Ymaphoto, Toronto. Youssef, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me, Eccaia. I'm really happy to be here.
I think there are a lot of misconceptions or lack of knowledge around why it's so important to have good headshots in any professional industry, but especially for any of us that are in the entertainment and performance industry. There's a saying that goes, a picture is worth 1,000 words, and I think that's really evident today, particularly with social media, personal websites, casting sites, etc. Our online presence is like our business card and resume, all out there for the world to see and, of course, judge. Did you go to school to study photography, or how did you get started?
I actually studied mechanical engineering that had nothing to do with photography. And in my second year, I worked in a very deadbeat town. It was so boring. So I'd finish my engineering job at 5 and then lose my mind from 5 to midnight because I couldn't sleep before midnight. Uh, and so what ended up
Oh my
happening is
gosh.
I had a camera with me and I started playing with it. And then I started playing with light shaping. So I started learning Rembrandt lighting. I started learning clamshell lighting or horror lighting. When you put a light underneath someone's
Yeah.
face, I can't even talk. And so, you put a light underneath them and all of a sudden they're so scary, but you light them properly and they're beautiful or maybe cute. So
Yeah.
I was fascinated by how much you could change someone's look or the mood in an image using lighting, and I fell down the rabbit hole. I started buying lights, I started buying light modifiers, light shaping tools, and then I found myself in $15,000 debt
Oh my
by
gosh.
by the end of my co-op term, and ended up photographing many of my colleagues, many of my bosses, superiors at work. I finished the co-op there and ended up photographing the entire company. I stayed there for an additional 2 weeks to photograph the entire company. So I made some of that money back, but
Good.
yeah, it was great. And when I went back to the University of Waterloo on campus to finish my studies, I became the guy that was popular that would make you look good on camera, and most people liked that fact. So
Yeah.
that's how my business was launched.
Wow. And I find it funny that you mentioned going to the University of Waterloo because that's where my sister actually started off before she
Yeah.
transferred to Fanshawe, but that's where she started for 2 years.
Well, I'm
And
happy that it was just 2 years. Waterloo can be way too damaging. I did 5. So I'm happy for your sister.
I'm
Nobody told me to
sorry.
leave.
Oh my gosh, sorry. That was great. And you mentioned like clamshell lighting. What is that?
Yes. Right. I'm talking gibberish. I should understand that I don't need to use those terms. So clamshell is like basically you're clamming your subject between the two lights like that, just like my hands. So that's actually
Oh.
partially what's happening. There's a light coming onto my face from there. And then there's a little tiny reflector under my laptop here that's reflecting a little bit of light, but it's not so strong because I could not get a big enough reflector in here. So that
Mhm.
basically clams your subject between two lights, and it's usually used for beauty stuff. So beauty magazines will use clamshell lighting all the time.
Wow. Well, your lighting looks great, so
Thanks.
good to know.
Thanks.
And how would you describe your photography style?
That's also a great question. I find it difficult to describe my own style. But I would say I focus a lot on psychology. If there is one thing I want people to feel when they look at my images, I want them to feel that the people that were there were connected to the camera, were happy to be there, and were intentionally there. You could take a lot of photographs, and some could be great, some could be average, but my point is I want the viewer to feel like, okay, this person wants to be in front of the camera, is happy to be there, and that mood that
Yeah.
they're conveying is intentional. So let's say when we shot with you, for example, and we did some shots that were a little edgier, I want people to know that this girl could mess you up. If you step out of the line, she's gonna destroy you. So that's the vibe that we were going for. And I want people to get that vibe when they look at the picture. I don't want them to feel like you're trying or that you don't want to be there. I want them to feel like you want to be there and you're ready to destroy them and ruin their lives. Right?
My goodness, I can already tell there's going to be a lot of laughing today, and it's going to be excellent.
That's great. I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah. And whose work has most influenced you in your photography style?
I would say Yusuf Karsh, and it's not because he has the same name like me. Um, Yusuf Karsh is an Armenian Canadian photographer, and he took Winston Churchill's famous portrait. Winston Churchill was smoking a cigar or something, and Yusuf Karsh walked over, snatched it out of his hand, and Winston Churchill gave that look that's like, "What are you doing?" You know?
What are you doing? Why
Yeah.
are you doing?
And that was the most famous portrait of Winston Churchill. That's how it was captured, and he's Canadian. And so I
Wow.
yeah, I use him as inspiration. Hopefully one day I'll be as famous as he is.
Yes, I can already see it happening. I can already see everyone. Oh, yes, I can see it. And what is the most rewarding part of being a headshot photographer for you?
That's also a great question, and that's a really easy question to answer because I had to ask myself that. Why on earth would you do that and leave engineering, for example? And I didn't leave engineering fully, but headshot is my full-time thing.
Yeah.
Um, I think the most rewarding thing about it is when you have someone that walks in and they're so stiff and so afraid and terrified of getting the picture taken. Maybe their significant other told them something nasty when they were coming into the photo shoot, and they're like, "Oh, you're going to a photo shoot? Interesting." That people could
Yeah.
do that,
Yeah.
and they leave the photo shoot, really looking forward to going back home and showing their significant other those images because they look great, right? um, I think people don't realize that being photographed or being on video is an awkward thing. And what many people behind cameras don't realize is that we mirror energies, right? Let's say this interview, for example, if you were lame and I didn't like you and you're like, "Hi, Yusuf, blah, 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 blah," and I'd just be sitting here giving you robotic answers. I'm tired. I
Yeah.
don't want to be here. But because you're engaged, I'm mirroring your energy. You're laughing at my stupid jokes. And so
Thanks.
I'm making stupid jokes, right?
Yeah.
I think the most rewarding thing is to see someone mirror your energy when you're
Yeah.
happy and you transfer that happiness over to them and you transfer that confidence over to them and that translates to their image on camera being confident and happy. I think that's very rewarding and there's no amount of money that could replace that feeling of what you see in their eyes when they're like, "Whoa, I actually look good. I'm not so ugly
Yes.
as much as I thought I was."
Yeah. I definitely can't relate to doing headshot photography, but the one thing with that mirroring confidence is I'm gonna tell you a story about my teacher this year.
I would love that.
I love how we're just jumping subjects, but
Let's do it.
her name's Madame Lorene, and she's an amazing teacher. She has 5 cats. It's insanity, but it's so great. But during history, I normally don't like learning history, but she's so fun and she makes it so entertaining, and she tries to get us all involved by giving us roles like you ruled Britain. Like she tries and get us involved in it, and so it really just makes everyone else, I think, a lot happier and a lot what's the term? Like a lot,
Engaged.
yeah, a lot more engaged and happy to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and let's say your client is really camera shy, but they know that they need to have headshots done. How do you work with clients like that?
Are you trying to put me out of business?
Oh my goodness.
I think we need to understand energy levels. I always do a consultation with people before I photograph them so that I make sure they will be happy with my energy level and I will be happy with their energy level. I have to adjust based on the person. Some people are more bubbly, funny, happy, blah blah blah. Some people are more formal. They're more like, you know, by the book. I need to understand how I can find the key to how they can loosen up and be happier. There was one instance where I did the consultation with someone and she was way too shy. She was way too calm. And I said, "Okay, I like you a
Ooh,
lot. You're a great person. But unfortunately, I can't tone down my energy that far. I am a little too extroverted for you. And so I think you should go to another photographer." And we're still friends to this day. Um, I think we need to understand energy levels. We need to understand how we can connect with each other before the session because a lot of
yeah,
photographers will not do consultations, especially beforehand. Some photographers will just sit with you right before the shoot, but it's way too late. You're already there,
yeah.
you know? So
Yeah,
I always deal with that throughout the consultation, explain the process to them, explain what's going to happen, and give them something to daydream about. We're daydreamers. And when they start to envision themselves into the situation, they're not as shy, they're not as afraid. They start to think of themselves as the star in the spotlight. And
yeah,
if I give you 2 weeks to think of yourself as the star in the spotlight, even if you're shy, you're going to be way less shy 2 weeks later.
of course. And the great thing is you're honest too, like saying, I don't know if I can work with you because you're just really shy. I can't tone myself down that much. I think that's really great because a lot of times, like I've always said this, I would much rather you just be honest and say, hey, I can't work with
Yeah,
you, or your punch is too high, than you just be like, oh yeah, let's work together even though we don't mix at all, and
yeah, yeah.
it
No,
might
that's
come
the
out awkward.
worst. That's the worst.
And now let's shake things up a bit with our first Spill It segue, which is a speed round of Would You Rather. Three
Let's do it.
questions, 30 seconds on the clock. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Would you rather have a super sensitive taste buds or super sensitive hearing?
Who comes up with these things? Obviously, super sensitive taste buds.
Really?
I would kill someone if I had super sensitive hearing.
Oh my goodness.
I love food anyway, so I don't mind tasting it even
True.
more. That's fine.
Yeah, I mean, at least you can really taste all the flavors in the dessert or the food that you're eating versus being able to
Uh,
hear everything that's happening around you. I can see
oh,
why that would get
no,
annoying.
no, 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 no. I would murder someone. Not really.
It's not really. It's an expression. We get it. I get it.
Yo, no, I just don't want to get flagged or anything.
Oh, of course. Of course. I totally get it. And would you rather be immortal on a mortal planet or be mortal on an immortal planet?
Oh God, that's difficult. I
Yeah, it's
would
a deep
be. I
question.
would rather be moral on an immortal planet.
I think I would too. I feel like I don't think I could handle that. Like you just live forever and watch everyone you've ever cared about, like they just
Oh no.
go long before you.
Well, yeah, but then especially everyone will be a piece of shit, right? So that would be a horrible life, and it's forever.
True. There's no escape. There's no.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I could see that. Yep.
Yep. So I would not do it.
And would you rather be able to slide down rainbows or jump on clouds?
I need to understand who writes this stuff. Do you write the stuff? Okay.
A lot of yes, I do.
I love it. I
I
love it.
do.
I would jump on the clouds. That would feel funny.
Same. I feel like though with a rainbow, they only ever appear every once in a while. So what? You only get a slide every once in a while. Where there's
Yeah,
always clouds, you can always just cloud jump.
absolutely.
Sorry, just that. Just was a random thought. How would you get up there? Like, would you have to rent a plane to just jump every time, or like,
To get on top of the clouds to jump on them.
yeah, or could you just like jump up there?
That's the only unrealistic thing that's in the question. I agree.
To
The
be
whole thing
fair
is
though,
well, I don't know. Maybe we'll create some devices that will just lift humans up, like something that
maybe
you wear into like shoes, for example, and it has very strong jets, and it
just
just pew, shoots up in the sky.
that would be great. That'd be great. To be fair though, I mean, I like how we're like it's unrealistic. The question is, would you rather slide on rainbows or jump on clouds?
Yeah,
So
but
I
then but
mean,
then the problem is how do you get to the clouds?
uh, and why would you say it's important to have high quality headshots?
Well, that's more like two questions in one. If we focus on the entertainment industry, your headshot is basically what gets you in the room, right? There are rooms that you can get away with somewhat not great headshots, and there are rooms that you will not be seen unless you have a really solid headshot, right? And so when you're like that tiny of a thumbnail on the screen, and there are a bunch of people otherwise around you on the same screen, you want to pop and you want to jump out as
Yeah,
much as possible and convey the emotion that casting directors are looking for when they are looking at that screen, because they're basically looking for someone that can play something that's very specific.
yeah,
So if they're casting something, and even if your headshot is great but you use the wrong one, then you're still in a bad place.
yeah,
So not only do you need to have a great headshot, you need to understand the range that you're going to be applying for and what to use when, because it's that tiny thumbnail that gets you into the room, and if it's not eye catchy, you're just gonna
yeah,
they will scroll down, and you didn't even make it to the cut, and that's sad.
yeah,
Especially that people could be very talented and that could be their block.
yeah, of course. Well, like you said, we did some more edgy ones and some more like just what's the word? Like more
Commercial.
commercial. There we go. That's the word.
Yeah. We
But
did some
some
commercial, we did some
yeah.
edgy, we did some cute ones, where it's
Well,
like it's not,
exactly. But I
you know,
also know that the roles I'm fingers crossed for the most part. For the most part, I'm doing a bit of everything. I've talked to my agent. She's like, "You're going to be doing everything," which is
I
great.
love your
But I
agent.
know, yes. Oh, she's so great, Marla Mann.
Yeah. I love you. I love
Yes,
Marla.
she's so great. But it's what she said is she's like, "I have someone for horror. You will do some of everything, but I'm not going to market you in that
Yeah.
genre." I was
Yeah.
just watching some horror stuff with my mom, and she's like, we should play these horror games," and I'm like, "Nope, nope, 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 no." I'd like
I can't watch that stuff. I would not be able to sleep.
no. Well, I already specifically when I was little, of course, when I was little, but I had terrible nightmares. And the funniest thing was though, if we watched like a true crime thing, I not a single fear. We watched like The Walking Dead, not a single fear, and then it's
Same.
like yes, but then
Same.
it's like werewolf or like something fictional that will probably never ever happen. I'm like, oh my god, is it hiding in the closet?
Yeah. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, when I was 7, for some reason I watched a video of a shark in a pool, and I could not go into a pool until I was 11.
Okay, same thing, same thing. I hadn't even seen Jaws or anything, like no shark movies. I had a dream that at my
Oh,
swimming lessons pool there was a giant octopus. A dream. So
oh
it wasn't even
God.
portrayed.
It's just your imagination messing with you.
Yes, I would always go in the pool, like everything I did my swimming lessons, but constantly whenever I would get to the deep end, it was straight to the wall, and I always made sure I would never go first, so I wasn't the first person getting eaten by this thing. And it would always like dart. Yeah, I would like sprint while swimming, but
Yeah.
like dart through the water just to get to the shallow end, past the little line that marks it, and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, you made
Yeah.
it, made it. And
Yep.
then of course, like 2 months later, I'm like, oh, the shallow end's safe. No, it's not. Now there's sharks in the shallow end and an octopus in the deep end. The pool was never safe.
Oh.
I freaked myself out so much, but yeah, your
Yeah.
imagination and your overthinkingness definitely gets a hold of you sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. That's why we're artists.
Exactly. And what would you say makes the great headshots stand out from the average ones?
It's the facial expression. People worry too much about what they wear, wardrobe, and backgrounds, and blah, blah, blah. These are all supplementary things. They're not the main thing. When we do your headshot, we want to get your emotions out, because that's what we're selling. In this business, we sell emotions. The whole thing is emotions. So when we do your headshots, we're not focused on your earrings. In fact, I tell people take them off. We're not focused on piercings. We're not focused on jewelry, on outfits, on backgrounds. These are all very supplementary things. We don't want anything to draw attention
Yeah,
other than this, just your face. You know.
okay.
So facial expression is king, and is very important. I'll take a shot that is technically subpar. I wouldn't go as far as subpar, but technically not great, and has a stunning facial expression that connects over a shot that's technically perfect, and it just feels bland. It feels like me. We don't want anything that's me,
Well, like
right?
you said though, if you're scrolling, like if you're looking at all the people that audition for your role, someone who has maybe like a lesser headshot but has a really great expression, you're like, that is a good actress, that is a good
Absolutely,
actor,
absolutely,
versus someone who it's like, but it's a really great headshot, then you're gonna be like, I want the person that's full of emotion and expression.
absolutely.
It just makes sense.
Yeah.
And if I was looking for a headshot photographer, are there certain questions that I should ask before I book a session?
That's also a great question. I think the first thing I recommend to people is get to know the photographer. You can't email them and say, I want to book a shoot. They email you back and you book a shoot. And the first time you hear this person's voice, or you listen to, their stories, the way they talk, or see them and their gestures and their demeanor, you can't experience that 30 minutes before shooting and get a good shot unless
Yeah.
you're like super comfortable. I like to tell people a consultation is incredibly important so that you
Yes.
can relax. As far as questions you can definitely ask about wardrobe, how many changes they will allow you to do. Some photographers will say this is a 3 look session, which means you change wardrobe 3 times. Um, in my case, I say, no, this is a 3 look session, but you can change wardrobe as many times as you'd like. And then we will pick 3 out of the whole thing and
Yeah.
use those 3. I like to do that because you never know how stuff will look on camera, right? But you have to discuss all that with your photographer beforehand. So you have to discuss hair and makeup, you have to discuss
Yeah,
wardrobe, you have to discuss timing, you have to discuss, delivery times and stuff like that. If you've got something that's rushed, let us know beforehand.
yeah.
So there are a lot of questions that you should ask your photographers. These are just the basics um, of what you really need to nail down before you end up booking and committing to anything.
Makes sense. And as a client, what should I look for in a high quality headshot?
That's a great question too. So we've already covered a lot with the past few questions. So building on everything we've said, you want to make sure that your headshots are sharp, which means
Yeah,
your eyes are relatively in focus. Sometimes photographers will do that crazy stuff where it's like it's slightly out of focus or slightly that's more like the artistic photographer that's trying to do actors headshots. Real actor headshot photographers never do that because they know that's going to get you yelled at. But if you go to someone that doesn't do actor headshots on daily basis, you might end up in a situation like that. You want to make sure that they're sharp, you want to make sure that they're well lit, and
yeah.
by well lit I don't mean only quantity, I mean quality. So there's something called soft light versus hard light, right?
Yes, yes,
You don't
right.
want to be lit in any harsh lighting at all. You want to be lit in ways that are soft, that are flattering, and you want to make sure that you get an image that is high resolution enough for you to be able to print from and to use
Yeah.
on online websites. So if they send you the picture on Facebook Messenger, then that's a problem, right?
Oh my goodness. Well, I remember my headshots, they came out so amazing, but I have some on my website, eccaia
Yeah,
go check it out. But also, I did a workshop with Gloria Mann, and she printed them out and was like, "Oh yes, this still looks good. Looks great. You're
yeah,
good."
yeah.
So
I
it
would not. I
really,
would not
yeah.
mess up that much.
Okay, now it's time for Spilt segue number 2 called Fact or Fiction. As quickly as you can, answer the following questions.
Okay.
Fact or fiction? Patterns on clothes are better for headshots than solid colors.
Fiction.
Fact or fiction? Your headshot should look like you and not overly airbrushed or glammed up.
Fact.
And fact or fiction? Natural light is better than studio light.
Fiction. 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 This is annoying. you
Oh
know
my goodness.
there are photographers out there, I'm sorry, I'm triggered. There are photographers out there that will say you can do anything with natural light, and that's true. It's not a lie, but you can do anything with natural light 1 or 2% of the time because you can't
Yeah.
control where
You can't
natural
control
light
natural
falls.
light.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
So I am a strobes person. Maybe that comes from the fact that I'm a tech head. I like tech stuff. I love strobes. I can control them. I can light the tiniest parts of someone's face very precisely. You can't do
Yeah.
that. You can't do that with natural light. So
No, it would be great if you could just be like, okay, let's just turn down the sun a little bit, you know?
an application would be nice, but I bet that will only be Apple compatible, not Android.
Oh my goodness. But yeah, I'm not a photographer, but I know that when I take photos or anything, I recently had to take some for a concert we're doing in school.
Yeah.
I have to have a studio light because I'm sorry, the light from outside, it's just not working. Like this half of my face is lit, whereas I can move also the fake light wherever I want to.
Yeah.
With
And
natural light, it's only gonna come from one direction.
well, what you could do is you can adapt to what natural light gives you. So let's say there is a really sunny day out there and you want to shoot and you don't have any strobes. You could use diffusion material. So you could basically
Yeah,
diffuse the sun and make it softer. But then if you want to have a room light, it's going to be really difficult. So what you might have to do is you might have to get a mirror or reflector to use the sun that's lighting a ski to get it to light as some sort of fill or rim. So you can adapt natural light and you can get some gorgeous pictures with natural light. But if you want consistency and you want to show up every time knowing that you can produce the very same look in the same way, then definitely strobes are the way to go.
yeah. I love how you just have all this information in your head of just how to make sure everything with natural light versus studio. I like how you just have all that information there. Yes. And one thing with I like how just quickly you answered the first question. Patterns are on clothes are better. You're just like fiction. And
Yeah,
end of story.
yeah.
Fiction.
I hate patterns because what they do is they create something called the Mori effect. That's basically cameras will read an image line by line. So if your sensor is a square, which most sensors are squares, unless I'm living under a rock or something, they are reading them line by line. And so when you have lines in your wardrobe in what you're wearing, there are lines, and the camera's trying to read by lines. It gets a seizure. It's like, whoa, what's happening here? Especially like zebra patterns are the worst because it
Oh.
really screws with the processor in the camera, and so it gives it something called the moire effect, and that happens a lot more in video than it does in stills. In stills you can actually get over it, but patterns are still very distracting. We don't want people to look at your zebra pattern, at your checkerboard pattern. We want them to look at your face.
Well, like you said, you really want to focus up here instead
Yeah,
of what your earrings or whatever.
exactly, exactly.
I'll never forget during our consultation, we asked you what I should wear, and you're like, "Oh, natural colors, plain
Yeah,
colors," because
yeah,
obviously patterns are a problem, and all of my clothes are black, so that
yeah.
was a problem.
And that's fine. I mean, when it comes to colors, if you wear something that's black or white, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Photographers sometimes hate it because if the background is bright and you're wearing white, then the image becomes a lot less
Well,
contrasty.
exactly. Yes.
Um, but that's, I can forgive you if you show up with black and white, but I won't be able to
Forgive
forgive
you.
you if you show up with a zebra pattern.
Okay, that's good to know. I'm one thing I'm gonna say right now. If you are, and this is to our viewers, if you are ever looking for plain clothes specifically for kids, Old Navy. Go to Old Navy because we looked everywhere and we went to like 7 different stores and no one had anything. Like, because the problem was one side would be plain, you're like, oh, that looks so cool, and then you flip it over and there's like a unicorn or something on the front,
Oh,
or a vehicle or something, and I'm like, really,
yeah.
really.
You really had to stick that car on that shirt?
Really? Yeah. And I'm so glad though that you did tell us that because now if ever we see a plain shirt, we're like, "Ooh, that's a new color you don't have. Okay, we're gonna
Yeah.
grab that.
Just
Perfect
buy
for
it
self
and
tapes."
then have a really big box and have my name on it. Be like, Youssef.
And what's your client intake process like?
That's also a good question. I just have a form on my website. You fill that form, I will respond, say, let's do a consultation. If you're smart enough to say yes, we do a consultation. If you're not smart enough to say yes, then we just don't work together. Um, some people will try to refuse the consultation and they will say, oh, I don't need a consultation. I'm confident. I'll just do it that way. And I'm like, no, 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 no. That's not going to happen. We
Oh
need
my
a
goodness.
consultation. I need to make sure that you're not crazy too, right?
Yeah, true. It's not only for the client, it's also for you to
Yeah.
make sure that
For my
you
safety.
feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so we'll do the consultation. After the consultation, I'll ask the person to send me what they think of wearing when it comes to wardrobe. They will send me pictures. I'll respond back with, okay, I like these ones, I don't like these ones, let's shop for this, let's shop for that.
Yeah.
And once the wardrobe is good, we will book a date. We sometimes book a date before the wardrobe is finalized, and we
Yeah.
say that's tentative. And if your wardrobe sucks, then we will just push. But that never happened.
That never
um,
happened. That's good. That's good.
yeah, most people in the industry have way too much clothing than any human should. Um, I found that's a very common thing with actors.
I
People will
would
show
like
up
to
with like,
yep. Oh, I
yeah.
would like to deny that, but I can't. There's I have I have a very tiny closet. I have one section that is just dedicated to my colored shirts because I can't let them get wrinkled, and then I have one section that's just dedicated to all the different coats and layers I need to use for self tapes, photo shoots, etc.
Yeah,
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 too many
yeah. We
clothes.
too many clothes, and it's actually starting to rub off on me every time I shoot a guy, and there is a piece there's a piece of clothing that they're wearing that I like. Um, I'll just go buy it, and I'm like, oh, I this is a problem because they're all very beautiful, and
Yeah.
yeah, I'm gonna go broke.
Yep, same thing happened. I was on set for the first time, and there was this really cool jacket I got to wear, and I was like, "Oh wow, it's so cool." And Mom's like, "Yeah, so it's American Eagle, so we need to go one of these times because they also have really cool pants."
Yeah,
I'm just like, "All right, I'm in. I get new clothes. It's
yeah,
good. We're good."
absolutely, absolutely.
And how long should a typical photo shoot last?
Typical is a word I don't like. It really varies from person to person. I have shot people that have killed it. Like, I think you were done in like 35 minutes or 40 minutes, something like that.
What was that?
It was way too fast,
It was like so
because
fast.
you were great. Like the
Oh,
first few frames I took of you, one of the ones that we retouched was one of the first 10 frames. That's very rare for me.
like, oh
Usually
wow, thanks.
usually the first 10, 15, 20 frames will be the person getting used to the camera,
Of course.
just relaxing, understanding what's happening, looking at that giant softbox in that camera, and they're still adjusting. But in your case, you're like, I don't care. I'm a superstar from the get-go. So it
Thank
depends,
you.
right? So
Yeah,
so with someone like you, then that was really easy. Some people will take a little bit more time. The
of
longest I've
course.
had to stay with someone was 6 hours,
What?
which is insane.
What?
Uh,
No.
yeah, I've shot
Oh,
someone for 6 hours, and I did not want to walk out of that room until that shoot was 100% done in a way that would make them happy, make me happy.
good.
Um, I was gonna die at the end, but I
Good at
I
the
don't I
end.
don't I don't leave until I know I got what I
Yeah,
need,
of
and
course.
that yeah.
Well, that's really, really good. That's amazing.
Yeah, typically I said I hate the word typical, but I'm gonna use it. Typically around an hour and 15 minutes to an hour and a half for the average person.
Good. That seems like a good time to me.
Yeah.
And do you recommend that clients have their hair and makeup done professionally, or do you feel that a more natural look is better?
Well, having it done professionally doesn't mean it's going to be unnatural. You can very easily fall into that trap of, oh, I have a pro hair and makeup artist, and I can ask her to do all sorts of crazy things, and you can absolutely do that. And it unfortunately happens more often than I would like to admit it does. Never happens with me, but it happens, and I look at the pictures, I'm like, okay, it's a great picture, but that has nothing to. I know what you look like in real life.
Why did she look like? Oh my
you know
goodness.
you
Yes.
don't want to do anything crazy with hair and makeup that you cannot replicate within 2 hour or 3 hour notice, because every audition is an emergency. They don't tell you 3 years beforehand,
No,
right?
no.
So you don't have the time to do crazy things before you step into that room. You have the time to do the basic, look good and look polished. I'm not saying I wanted to look bad. I'm not saying I wanted to look unpolished.
Yeah,
I'm saying I want you to look like you on your best day. You're
of
going to,
course.
an interview, for example, but you're not going to a wedding, because people do crazy things before they go to weddings, right?
Yeah,
So that's what I tell people. Whether you hire a professional or you do it yourself, it needs to be a slightly step up from what you would look like without makeup. But I don't want you to look like someone else. Some people are great doing their own hair and makeup. Some people cannot. If they need to save their lives with it, then they're dead. So you need to figure out who you are.
mm,
You need to figure out if you're good at hair and makeup and not. Sometimes people will not know the answer to that question. I'll tell them, okay, do your hair and makeup, send me a selfie, and I'll tell you. If I like what you did, then we're good. If I feel like you've done a job that's overdone, then we will hire someone. Or if I feel like you have done a job that is looks like you didn't do anything, you just woke up and took a selfie, then then we'll
yeah,
hire someone.
of course, of course.
Yeah.
Makes sense. And what should a person expect to pay to have professional headshots done?
Well, expectations generally lead to disappointment, but uh, especially when it comes to money, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Um, most photographers that are reputable will charge somewhere around $400 to $500. You could get up to $1,000, but that I think is not necessary, and I don't think it will actually push you that far. If you do spend $1,000 on headshots, I think you should spend roughly around 500 to 600, and then plus hair and makeup.
of course.
You will find photographers that are a hell of a lot cheaper than that. I think you should find that alarming, because it means that they are unable to take the time with you and be patient and make sure you relax, get you to be in the zone. You don't want to go to someone who does mini sessions or stuff like that that takes
Yeah,
20 minutes or 15 minutes and you're out. You can't survive with that. It will be
I
awkward. You will
can't
throw
survive.
away yeah, you will throw away, some money, and you could have saved that for a better headshot for a later date. So
Yeah,
that probably is the smarter thing to do, especially that when you get a headshot that you're not thrilled with.
yeah.
Okay, I have a problem today. Especially
I get it.
when you get a headshot that you're not thrilled with, what ends up happening is that it scars you mentally a little bit. So it makes your next experience a little bit harder, because you're coming
Yeah,
with some expectations that, oh, chances of this sucking are really high, and
yeah.
you don't want that.
Of course, of course.
Yeah.
Well, and also I can definitely say that if you are a child or you're still growing, then you definitely don't want to spend like $1,000 on the first headshot, because within like a
Absolutely.
year or sometimes 2 years, you're gonna need new ones.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
I
yeah.
agree. I agree. Maybe for kids, a mini session would be okay, but for adults, no. And for people who are closer to like your age, I don't think you could benefit from a mini session. But if you're like really tiny, you're like, I don't know, 5 years old, and you can't really do expressions all that much, we can barely keep you on camera for 20 minutes anyway, because that's the window that we have. Then if you opt for a mini session that's a lot cheaper, then I think that's fine.
Yeah, and I think it's definitely a lot easier to say, okay, stand in front of the camera and pose for 10 minutes or 20 minutes versus,
Absolutely.
okay, stand there for as long as it takes for you to get the perfect shot.
I agree. I agree. I think there is an age cutoff. I think anything below 12 doesn't work with, okay, stay there as long as whatever it takes. That doesn't work with people, with kids from like, I don't know, 4 or 5 until like 12. But then
Yeah.
once kids start to mature up a little bit and they start to have a personality, they can interact, they can understand emotions, then we can basically push the envelope a little bit and get them to pose a little bit longer and then try to produce emotions a little bit more intentionally.
And now let's play our final spill it segue number 3 called Just a Minute. I'm going to give you a topic, and your task is to talk about that topic for 1 full minute. Are you ready?
I don't know. You're evil. I don't know.
Yeah, but this is like probably my favorite part of the interview, is just because you cannot prepare for this because I give you no time.
And that's the blackout stuff that
That's the
okay.
blackout stuff.
Right. Let's do it.
All the spill it segues. All right, and ready? Your topic is the difference in working with kids versus adults. Go.
Okay, that's not so difficult. I think I love working with both kids and adults. Kids are so spontaneous. You can get them to be, silly and they're not worried because they don't have a persona that they need to protect. Adults will come into shoots and they think, okay, I need to, not make a fool of myself. And that's
Yeah,
the first thing that I establish with adults is that I'm gonna make a fool of myself so that you can make a fool of yourself too. Because that's how we get what we want is if you're relaxed, you let down your guard. So that's the one thing I like about kids, and I actually learned this from kids, and I try to duplicate that with adults. With adults, they have a lot more control over their emotions than kids do. So if I tell an adult, let's not be so happy, we want to do something a little bit edgier, they probably can do that a little bit better than an adult, than a kid. But then a kid, you try to get them not to be so bubbly and smiley. That's a little bit more challenging and more
yeah,
difficult,
it
and
definitely can be.
it might not be as needed as well for kids because the range of emotions again with kids is not as so great as adults. But the main difference is that kids will be themselves. They will be calm. We're done.
Yeah, we're done. You did
Okay,
it. Wow, that was
great.
actually surprisingly easy. So good job.
Thanks. Well, you picked an easy question. I'm grateful for that.
Okay, now let's get to know more about you with a few of Spillet's just curious questions.
Okay, go ahead.
What is the most difficult part of being a headshot photographer?
You again. This is your strike too. You're trying to put me out of business. Uh, I think the emotional aspect of it is the most difficult. Um, I think I have like an emotional window of okay, I could photograph people for like 8 hours or like 6 hours a day, but then if you come in after that, then I can't do it.
Yeah,
I don't have the energy to try to coach someone to get them, and so I have to pay conscious attention to that. And the hardest part is to tell people no, because if that window for me on a day is 6 hours, that means I shoot 3 people that day. If the fourth person wants that date, I can't do it, because if they show up, then my energy is going to be different. My energy is going to be low and uninterested. I don't want to be like that with someone I'm
of
shooting. I want to
course.
be engaged and interested because that mirrors on them. If I'm interested and engaged, they do the same thing. We get great pictures. So the
Of
hardest thing
course.
is the emotional bank, basically.
Yeah, and it's also not fair to you though if you're already exhausted and someone's like, "Oh, well, I want to do a 2-hour session as well." Like
Yeah.
that's draining.
Yeah, yeah. And some people say, "Oh, that's the only day that can work for me," and I'll have to say no.
All right, and now if you were a type of food, what type of food would you be?
Mm. I have a very weird relationship with food. I loved food and I would eat anything without thinking about it until maybe April 2021. And then in April I was like, okay, this is getting out of control. You're way too fat. We need to get this, you know.
Oh my
So
god.
so I love sushi. If I were to choose what type of food I would be sashimi. Uh, I would be
Oh.
I would be white tuna sashimi, very specific.
Oh my goodness, very specific, yes. But I love sushi as well. See, we can relate in that aspect. I love sushi. I personally like the maki rolls though.
Me too.
Yes, they're my favorites. There's actually a sushi place that's like a 5-minute walk from my house. And now let's say we finish the interview and you step outside the office and find a lottery ticket that ends up winning $10 million. What would you do?
I'm not that lucky. I don't think I would win $10,000.
10 million.
I know. I'm saying I don't think I would win 10,000.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I'm not a lucky person, but if I have $10 million, what would I do? I don't know. I don't think I want to change anything in my life. I'd probably help my parents out a little bit. Um, I would donate to some charities. I would donate to my church. Um, and I'd probably help some of my family back home.
Oh, yes.
And then buy my
Very nice.
medium format camera. But that medium format camera is just $100,000. So if you've got 10
Oh,
million,
I
yeah,
mean, I guess if you have 10 million, then that's not
that's not money.
horrible.
Now,
Sorry, I'm choking up saying that $100,000 isn't a lot if you have enough money.
no, yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
Which can't be the case for either of us, sadly.
no, no, definitely not. $100,000 for a
Yeah.
camera. I mean, I guess if like that's your job and your passion, then I guess it makes more sense. But like,
Well, I wouldn't use that to do actor headshots, right? That's used for commercial stuff. That's used for like
uh,
bigger sets, bigger work.
that's like a down payment on a house.
Yeah. And that's why I am
Oh,
single because when a girl asks me, I don't know why girls love to ask me that on dates. They're like, "Oh, so what's your dream camera?" And then I answer the question and I never get a second date. You know.
my goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah, that. Yeah. Oh my gosh. My goodness. Sorry. That's just funny. And now, if you could have dinner with any three people, dead or alive, doesn't matter, who would it be and why? Of
Who would it be? It would be Yusuf Karsh, dead.
course.
And we already spoke about that. And who else? I would do Marcus Aurelius. I love his writings. Have you ever read anything for him?
No, I haven't.
He is a Roman general slash emperor. He was, that weird hybrid of general and emperor, and
Yeah.
he writes a lot of wise stuff. And I love that period history.
Yeah.
So I would definitely want to see him for dinner. I don't know what he
Okay.
would cook me though.
No, but you'd
Um,
still get to see him though.
and my grandmother.
Oh,
I would like to bring her back from the grave for a few minutes. That would be nice.
perfume. Oh, sorry. Sweetest answer. Sweetest answer.
Thanks.
Oh. And this has got to be probably one of my favorite questions, but what's the funniest thing that's happened to you recently?
Mm. Well, this is kind of shameful. I was way too tired. I was way too tired, and I don't know why I was driving. I thought, yo, I don't have my cell phone. I don't have my keys. And my mom was way too tired. So I called my mom because I was visiting her, and I said, I think I left my cell phone and keys at your place. I called her from my cell phone, and I'm driving the car. So I have my cell phone and I have my keys. And so she hung up and started searching and then realized that I called her through the cell phone that we're trying to find and that I'm driving the car. So she told me that. And I'm like, whoa,
Oh my gosh.
I need to sleep a lot more than what I'm sleeping right now.
Oh,
So
oh my
that was
goodness.
very funny. Yeah,
It's
that
like
was
when
very
you're
funny.
looking for your phone with your phone.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, no. I like how we consider that like embarrassing or shameful. And I'm like, it's happened to all of us at least once. At least once.
I don't think it would happen that bad. Like
Not,
everybody tries
maybe
to
not that
find their
bad.
glasses when they're wearing them. That's normal.
No.
Mm, You know, like
Oh
you're
my
wearing your glasses and you're
goodness.
trying to find it, that's fine. But if you can't find your phone, so you use your phone to tell your friends that you can't find your phone, that's next level.
You were tired. That's all. It's fine.
I agree.
Oh,
I was very tired.
yeah. Oh my goodness. It reminds me of my sister. She, if you hide something right in front of her, she will never find it. If you hide something, like actually try and hide it, found in a second. Like it's incredible. But if you stick something right in front of her, she won't find it.
Yeah.
When she was in high school, she's like, Eccaia, where are my glasses? And I was like, I don't know, 5 maybe. And she's like, where are my glasses? I'm gonna be late. And I look and I'm like, they're on the coffee table. What are you talking about? Where are
Yep.
you? Yep.
Yep.
Oh my goodness. What movie, no matter how many times you've seen it, do you have to watch when it's on?
Rush Hour. I love Rush Hour. It's so funny, and I feel like the emotional ups and downs mixed with comedy in Rush Hour is something that I really love, because you feel like, okay, this guy's hopeless. He will never be of use, but then, oh my God, no, he could actually do something useful. And while doing that, you're still having fun, and it's funny, and
Yeah.
entertaining. That the second choice would be Ted. Have you ever watched Ted?
I've never seen either of them.
Oh no, Ted. Okay, actually, I would put Ted as number one before Rush Hour. Ted is such an awesome movie. It's about a child that somebody gave them a teddy bear in their Christmas or birthday or whatever, and they said they could have one wish, and the kid wished that the teddy bear would be real because he had no friends. So the teddy bear became real.
No, no, no.
It's not scary. It's not scary.
Okay, okay,
It's not
good.
scary. It's so funny and cute. And then yeah, they just grew up together, and he became that 35-year-old with a teddy bear friend. The first thing you do after we finish this is you just go watch Ted. There are two parts or maybe three parts. I don't remember. Definitely two parts.
All right, well, I'll write that down somewhere after we're done here, but
Absolutely.
no, there's always something in any form of movie where it's like, I wish my teddy was real. I wish my doll was real. No, no. Like, sure, there's some nice movies where it's like, oh, they grew up together and it was good, but I'm like, yeah, so chances are, though, if you wished it to reality, it's gonna get possessed by something and come at you. Like, I don't
I'm
need to take
alone. I'm
chances.
alone in the basement. We probably want to change the conversation because when I'm done with you, I'll just get out of the house running, and I just want to make any human contact at this point. Scary
Why
stuff.
did we go here? Why did I go here? We started from a nice, heartwarming story about a guy and his teddy bear who grew up, and we went to this.
That's
Why?
okay because we are who we are.
Good way of putting it. There we go. And now it's time for our last question of the day,
Yeah.
which is if you could step into my shoes, what would you have asked yourself that I didn't?
What would I ask myself? Wow. That's some deep stuff, Akaya. I'm not ready for that kind of stuff. um, I would ask myself if photography was not an option or you didn't make it into photography, what would be the second choice? And do you want me to answer that?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
It would still be photography. I would keep trying until I make it.
I keep trying until I did it. That's
Yeah.
a good answer. Like, at least you know you're really passionate about something when you're like, I don't care how long it takes. I will keep pursuing until I
There
get
is
there.
no quitting.
Yeah, good way of
Yeah.
putting it.
Yeah. We
There's no
fight, we
quitting.
win,
Yep.
or we die.
Oh my goodness. All right. Well, that's all the time we have. But before we go, do you have any final words of wisdom you'd like to leave our audience with?
Thank you for that. I don't know if I'm the person you'd ask for words of wisdom, but if there's anything I would want people to do, and if there's anything I wanted to hear, I wanted someone to tell me is that you keep working at it. You don't quit. I am surrounded by people that will, ask me questions. Oh, is this a real job? Why don't you work in engineering? Why don't you go get a real estate
Yeah.
license? Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? And at some point, when I was not making enough income through photography and it wasn't really a real job, I would ignore them. But deep down, I'm like, are they right? Should I try to attempt having a
Yeah.
second career choice, a backup plan? And something inside me said, no, 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 no. This is what you're born to do. You do it to the fullest and it will pay off. And it's not like I'm, a top photographer or anything like that, but I could make enough to put food on the table, to keep myself, at least relatively washed and under a roof and fed. That these are important things. And
Yeah.
a lot of artists struggle with that. And so I want to tell them, you keep trying, you
Yeah.
keep hitting the nail on the head. You don't stop, no matter what people around you tell you. Because if you look at the people around you, they have failed miserably in things. And so they are projecting that failure on you. They maybe someone wanted to become an actor and they couldn't. And so they're telling you that. Or someone wanted to become a
Yeah.
photographer and they couldn't. And I have photographers, when I bought my stuff and I was in 15 grand debt, the salesperson was like, you're an idiot. You're never going to make that back. And he wasn't trying to put me down. He was projecting what happened to him because he was unable to make it back.
Yeah.
So I just want to tell people, you keep keeping at it, keep fighting, because when you win, and there is some reward, you will feel so great, and
Yeah,
you don't want to listen to these people.
definitely. And once we're off air, where can our viewers find you?
Where can well, my website, it's www.ymaphoto, so that's yellow money apple and then the word photo.com. You can also find me on Instagram at ymaphoto, and on Facebook ymaphoto headshots, or Youssef Abdelmalek, if you can spell that. If good luck to you if you can.
Ah, fantastic. Thank you so much for being ready to spill it with us, Youssef. I really appreciate you taking the time to be here with us today.
Same here, Eccaia. I had so much fun. Thank you for having me.
This week's episode has come to an end, but the fun doesn't have to end here. If you have any questions, suggestions, or feedback, head on over to our Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Like, share, and get involved. Until next time, stay awesome, stay driven, and always be ready to spill it. Eccaia, out.